Hello, I'm Robin Vincent and welcome to Molten Modular. Today we're looking at the Poly Cinematic from Knobula. What this is an 8-voice polyphonic synthesizer in a little module. Just in a module, just right within your Eurorack. And I've been playing with it this morning and I am just completely in love with this thing. It is fantastic. Now this is not going to be a proper review because I haven't spent anywhere near enough time with it yet, but I need to get a video done on it because I have to send it back, and I just wanted to offer this up as core blimey, look out for this one because this is ace. It's absolutely brilliant. It might not be what you're into, but for me it absolutely fills that massive hole in Eurorack, which is the polyphonic pad. That synth sound in the background, that thing that you always, that soft enveloping pad that you relax into at the back of all of your music. It's there filling in all the gaps while your bleeping and blooping is going on, and it's something which is really hard to do in modular. I've got a Poly 8 over there, 8 oscillators in a single module, but then you need 8 filters and you need 8 VCAs and all the other things that snowball once you start trying to get into polyphony within Eurorack. However, within the Poly Cinematic, they've got rid of all that stuff and just built it in. I mean, it's a digital synth, inevitably a digital synth in there somewhere, some kind of virtual analog sort of stuff going on. I haven't looked into it deep enough to tell you exactly what's going on behind the scenes, but what it is that I'm so enamored by this is its simplicity and the fact that it just fits in there without you having to do about it, because it's a synth, but it's not a synth. I'm not having to control 40 different parameters in order to try to sculpt that ideal sound. No, it gives me a couple of perfectly usable, perfectly curated sounds and a filter and an envelope to play with within my Eurorack. It's just sensational. So in this video, as I say, this is not a full review because I haven't had the time really to properly work my way through it. This is going to be a car crash straight into it, show you what it can do, at least what I've found so far, fiddling around with some of the settings just to give you a flavour of what's possible. This is a pre-production model that Jason at Knobula has sent to me to try out, and I've got to send it back tomorrow, but hopefully they are planning to release it in September, and by then I hope to have my hands on a finished one, at which point I will do a bigger video. So what does it sound like? Oh, it sounds a bit like this. See, that's enough really. That's all you need to know. 8 voices, polyphonic synthesizer in a little module within your Eurorack. I'm going to bring you in closer. We're going to have a fiddle with it, play with it for, 20 minutes, half an hour, see where we get to. And you already know what I think of it. yeah, so let's get stuck in. Right, so here it is, the Poly Cinematic 8-voice polyphonic synthesizer. First question then, how do you play it polyphonically within the context of Eurorack? Really good question. Well, we cheat to start with. It has a MIDI input here which I've got connected to my keyboard, and I can simply play it as a MIDI synth. There's nothing clever going on. It's just a decent sounding little synthesizer. But when it comes to Eurorack in it, it's got trigger inputs and frequency inputs, so you can play it as a mono synth like you can anything else, because it is a synth voice in of itself. You're not having to run it out through a filter or envelope or VCA, because all of that is built in, which I'll show you in a moment. But the important thing in terms of Eurorack is that it has the ability to memorize chords. So you stick a bunch of chords into it, and then you can play those with voltage. You can select them with a sequencer or with some other source of control voltage. And that, perhaps, is where it gets really interesting. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. First of all, let's just play with the sounds from MIDI and see where we get to. It's deliciously simple, ridiculously simple. You know, on any other synthesizer, you've got all sorts of things to play with. But here, you've got an envelope, which takes you through to decay on this side of this knob, and then into sustain, and then into release. The next section, the pink section here, is a filter. It can be low pass, it can be notch, or high. The envelope affects both, obviously, the amplitude, but also the filter, and you can just dial that in to have no impact at all, or to have it completely follow the shape of the envelope. This bottom section of it is to do with the oscillators themselves. Now essentially you've got three choices within here. Each one has three modes, giving you, I guess, sort of 9 tonal variations in total. Start off with Supersaw, which is what we're playing at the moment. Then you've got Square Wave. And then you have a sort of sine wave organ. It's just beautiful all the way through. And what you have here with each wave, you've got 3 different modes, and then you've got this detune knob, which does some fantastic things depending on which waveform that you're on. So on the Supersaw, you've just got 2 other modes, which are just slightly calmed down versions of the first one. So slightly subtle. It's the first one, which is a 7 oscillator Supersaw, apparently. If I was to make that a little bit more simple. Now when you introduce the detune knob, it can take you from just a little bit of detuning into the spreading out of oscillators. Then it starts to lose it, and it brings it back together into fifths. Spreads them out a bit more till it gets crazy town, and then you get back to octaves at the other side. So we can also experience these as chords. I just love it. I totally love it. So that's the Supersaw. Then have a look at the square wave. Feels quite gentle. And it's different again for each of the modes. Now, for one reason or another, that one doesn't sound quite right. I'm going to put that down to this being a pre-production module, and I don't really necessarily fully understand exactly what mode 3 on the square wave is about, because there's something weird going on in there. I mean, who knows, it might just be the way it's supposed to be. Yeah, something perhaps not right there. Then the organ one. Just delicious. Mode 3. I mean, it's just a synth. It's not doing anything spectacularly special. What I'm thoroughly enjoying is the fact that this inhabits this space. It's just within here. I'm not having to load up a big synthesizer. You know, I've got a Cobalt 8 over there or a Mod Wave to create, a fill-in pad for other things that are going on, or to just enjoy playing something which is within this rack. Now, obviously, I'm just playing it with it by itself. I mean, you can very easily bring something else in. whatever. Or whatever. I'm not going to be able to put together something extraordinary in the time that I have here. So hopefully that just gives you a glimmer. So that's sort of the sounds. Has this reverb, 24-bit digital reverb built in. Just doing a half decent job, I have to say. Now the output is in stereo, which has given me some challenges within my rack because I have nowhere to put that. So at the moment I'm feeding this into my output module as the effects return, because that's stereo that I usually have running through my DSP, Pico DSP reverb over here. Which is why there's no reverb on this fella. Anyway, I can keep doing that all day. That is absolutely my zone. That's where I've always enjoyed playing with synthesizers. Big pads, other knobbly bits going on, complementing each other. That is absolutely my vibe, I have to say, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Now, so how do you then use it within a Eurorack context? Well, it's got a quite clever idea, which is this chord memory. Let's just bring this back to a strikeable chord. What it does is it actually remembers the last chord you played. So play something, hit this button, and it will carry on playing that chord. You've got to catch it right though. So that in itself is pretty fun, but of course you could throw a trigger from a sequencer into it in order to play that for you. But the cool thing is that you can actually put 8 different chords in, and you use the chord select input here to select those chords. Now I fear I may have just overwritten chords that I prepared earlier. So let's see what happens. So I've got the sequencer output from my Variegate 4 Plus. Going to plug that into chord select, and hopefully that's going to be selecting a few different chords. Yeah, I'm not quite sure that's quite there yet. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the chords back in by way of demonstration. And what I worked out how to do this is to take the mod output from my key step here, plug it into chord select, and then use this range here of CV in order to find the 8 different places I can record a chord. So at the bottom here, I've got that. A little bit further up, I've got that. A bit further up, that, And that. So that seems wrong, whatever that is. So let me put a different chord in. See, that'll do. Let's use that. So then let's bring back my sequence and my trigger. I mean, you can't see my face, but I've just got the biggest smile. I am thoroughly enjoying this so much. Oh, it's just the best. It's the best. So there you are. That's the Poly Cinematic from Knobula. They should be available in September, by which time I hope to have a finished one. And I'm going to just love it. Love it to death. It's brilliant. I don't really know what else to say, really, other than that's just fantastic. I mean, I was talking to Jason about it when I first saw it, and I wrote it up for Gear News and essentially said, I know what this is. I get it. It's taking that paddy sound or that synthy sound that's missing from Eurorack, that polyphonic sound, and just sticking it in there as simply and straightforwardly and pleasingly as possible. It's not a massive synthesizer for you to get all synthesizer-y about. It's just got a handful of those sorts of tones that you use all the time, or would use all the time. It's got a filter, which is nice, and this chord mode, which is absolutely and uniquely Euroracky. It fits into the context of Eurorack brilliantly with that chord mode, the same way that perhaps the chord mode on the Platts does. It's that kind of vibe, or using the chord organ, something of that nature that just puts these either stabs or pads or movements or changes, sticks it into your Eurorack in a lovely looking compact module that's not going to distract you from the music making you want to do within your Eurorack, because it is absolutely in there feeding that whole thing and providing this bed of loveliness. Yeah, I mean, it's MIDI. I get that. You can't play it all from CV. Yeah, it's a different thing. If that's not your thing, then this is not for you. But this is solving a particular problem for people who are happy to bring MIDI into their Eurorack, or just want to play with those chord changes. Set that up beforehand. You can save all the chords so they stay with it after a power cycle, but do be aware of overwriting them as well, like I was a minute ago. But then, funnily enough, because I overwrote it, I then had to put something else in, and that actually sounded better than what I prepared. So, hey, there we go, swings and roundabouts. There we go, that's Knobula. I'm going to come back in a month or two and do some proper videos on it. And then I imagine it's the sort of module that's going to knock around in my case the entire time, doing awesome things. So thanks very much, Knobula, for sending it out to me. That's been an absolute joy. I'll have to put it back in its box and send it back to you, sadly. Now... So I hope that was useful, and in the meantime, go make some tunes.